Hi there, I want to talk to you about my latest acquisition. That's my new Yoko yoke. I've looked at a lot of different yokes in the process of trying to find the ultimate. I started off with a Saitek Yoke. And in trying to analyze, I'm going to turn the light on here so that you get a better view. This is the Yoko yoke. You can see it has a very long throw on the yoke. Takes a great amount of, considerable amount of force, realistic amount of force, certainly, on the yoke. I started off with a Saitek yoke. I found that it has a spring center that makes it very difficult to fly. Now I've been flying for about 45 years. I started at age 16. I was a pilot for the airlines for 30-some years. Flew fighters also in the Air Force, and a lot of general aviation flying too. So I kind of know what it ought to feel like, and I have to tell you that I've been really disappointed by some of the equipment that I've tried to use in simulation. Now I'm using Air Manager, which is a program that lets me run panels that are touch control. As you can see, how that works. I don't have the simulator running. I'll turn it on for a second here. Take it off or pause. But you can see the heading bug can be moved. So it gives me the realism of just the attitude indicator up and down. So it gives me the realism of a cockpit that's touch control, including the radios, flaps, and so on. But it gives me the realism of the real airplane without the cost of all the hardware. It also lets me switch airplanes. Anyway, back to the yoke. The Saitek yoke was very difficult to use. It had a spring detent in the middle that was very strong, and as you tried to trim the airplane, you kept hitting that detent. It was very unrealistic. I just could not use that at all. Then I switched to a CH yoke. Now that's a great little yoke. For the cost, I think it's probably the best yoke to use for a beginning simmer. It has a fairly soft feel that's very, very light on the controls. It's actually light, so light that it's a bit unrealistic. But it has a very smooth movement on the shaft so that you can get that precision. The thing I find that's missing on a lot of these yokes is if you have that detent, or I also try to Go Flight yoke, a Vantage Yoke, which was on sale for $440, normally $550. They had a 20% off sale. I thought, man, this is going to be the answer. I'm going to buy this yoke, and I'm going to be able to have some professional kind of quality, something that's not made of plastic. And unfortunately, the shaft on that had a roughness, so that when I was trying to flare the airplane and make those precise corrections to hold it off and just slowly increase the back pressure in landing, as you would as you're trying to bleed the speed off right before touchdown, it just wouldn't work. It kept catching, kept hanging up, and I would feel it, and I would jerk. It would jerk a little bit, and then I would have to deal with that bumpiness. So I got to tell you that this Yoko is the best. It's the best feeling yoke. It has the best, most realistic motion, the most realistic amount of pressure. Some of the other heavier yokes, like I'm sure the Go Flight airliner, I've tried that, the airline 737 style yoke. It has a little heavier springs, but this has got a very smooth feel. I understand it has ball bearings, I think, in the shaft, and it just flies so nice. And if it wasn't for the price, I think everyone should have this. Now this shipped to the U.S. It cost me about $1,000, and I saved my pennies quite a while to buy this. But I got to tell you that I'm not disappointed. I think it was worth saving my money up to buy it, because now that I have it, it is a beauty. It's very solidly made. It seems like it's going to last a while, and it's also very, very, very nice feeling. Also, the longer throw makes the flying feel more realistic, because most of the smaller yokes, you have just a few inches of movement, and it's just not realistic. Now, one thing I have noticed is my tables that I have my sim on, which was homemade, is not quite sturdy enough with this strong spring. So I'm already in the process of trying to design something new to set all my panels up. But I got to tell you that that heavier spring makes it feel much more realistic. probably closer to say a 182 in real life, or even a Baron or something like that. A little heavier on the controls than a Cessna, obviously. So here are my recommendations. If you have the money and you're serious about simming, I would save my pennies and get one of these Yoko yokes. But I wouldn't start with that. If you want to start with a yoke, I'd start with the CH yoke. The CH yoke, which I have one over here. I'll show you what it looks like in case you're not familiar. The CH yoke has got fairly short throw, but it also has the advantage of having a few extra buttons and throttles and mixture and crop control. So, you know, with that and all the buttons that it has for trim and all the other buttons that are available, it's a very, very good yoke for starters. And it will give you just about everything. In fact, you could start with that and just add some rudder pedals and you'd be good to go. So that's where I am. The only negative, if there is a negative of the yoke, is it only has limited buttons. There's a trim button here, an aileron trim, and a pitch trim button. And there's a button on the back side. And that's pretty much it. The buttons are very limited. It does have a very durable bracket to clamp it to the desk, which it needs with that strong spring. But you know, you're going to need some additional controls to if you want to have flap and gear controls, because those just aren't accommodated with this this yoke. This is a serious yoke for serious flying, and used in several actual real simulators. So, as I said, if you're a beginner simmer, I would go with the CH yoke and stay away from Saitek, because we don't even know if they're around, and the D10 is terrible. I can't recommend Go Flight. I only had a limited experience. I bought one, but I ended up sending it back because it just didn't have the smoothness and the feel that I wanted. But I can tell you that after only a few days of using the Yoko, I'm very happy with the way it flies. It flies very realistically, and it seems to be very well made. I hope this helps for those who are starting out in simming and those who are considering an upgrade to their yoke. And I'll just go ahead and give this a short flight, and we'll call it a completed video. By the way, this is X-Plane 11, which is looking great. I think it's going to be a real standard for the sim makers to try to emulate. You can see they've added some realistic European buildings to the ground, so it looks very good, very good. Taller buildings and realistic visual effects.